Good morning, dear students. Today we will be talking about insect integument and its derivatives. One of the success reasons of an insect is their outer hard sclerotized covering that is called as integument. The body wall of an insect is that part of the ectoderm which remains at the surface during the process of gastrulation in embryonic development in fully developed stage and serves to maintain anatomical integrity in the rest of the organism. The integument is composed of main three layers. For example, cuticle, outermost layer, then epidermis, that is actually living layer, and basement membrane. So cuticle is a non-living layer, and then living layer, that is epidermis, and then the innermost is basement membrane, that is also non-living layer. So we can say that one living layer is sandwiched between two non-living layers. So, the outer structure of an insect exoskeleton is determined by integument that provides attachment for muscles and appendages, which also encased by this integument. Insect body covering is shaped as a grid of hundreds of the plates. These plates are scleroids, which are separated through lines, and these lines are known as sulcus. And sometimes these lines are grooved inside the integument, and these grooves are known as suture. Due to its structural rigidity and layered construction, the integument is considered as a primary defensive structure of an insect. And the basic functions performed by integument are to protect the soft tissues and organs and system of the insect, and to provide place for the muscle attachment, and to provide support to appendages and their functioning uh, organs, then to provide site for the sensory organs, and also it helps in preventing desiccation of different parts. Then the integument of an insect also reduce the pathogen entry into the body of the insect. So as we have already talked about the body wall or integument, it is actually the remaining part of the ectoderm, and which remains at the surface in the fully developed stage and serves to maintain anatomical integrity in the insect. It's happened during the embryonic development, and the stage is known as gastrulation. Why we study integument? It allows identification of insect and also the other arthropods, and to understand their biology and control. So, the insect integument, as we have already discussed, that is composed of three basic layers that are basement membrane, epidermal layer, and then cuticle. Here we can see that while depositing different layers, if the cuticle is deposited during daytime, its color will be darker, and in contrast to that, if the cuticle is deposited during night time, its color will be light. Here is a structure of a typical and a simple cuticle. It's composed of cuticle, epidermis, and basement membrane. Here is a detailed structure of of integument of an insect. First of all, much of the area is composed of a cuticle, and cuticle is further divided into three main layers, and that are epicuticle, exocuticle, and then endocuticle. Exocuticle and endocuticle is collectively known as procuticle, then epidermal cells, and then basement membrane. So epicuticle is further divided into cement layer, base layer, and outer epicuticle and inner epicuticle. This area, epicuticle, is comparatively lesser in size as compared to exocuticle and endocuticle. Then exocuticle, it contains pore canals in vertical linings, and then endocuticle, that is composed of some pore canals, but here we have canals in both in horizontal and vertical dimensions. Then the most important layer is epidermal layer. It contains different glands and different cells, and from these cells, while insect undergo through the molting process, the most active and most significant or most important layer of the integument during the molting process is epidermal layer, because the regeneration of cuticular layers takes place due to different dermal glands activities, different cells activities present in epidermal layers, the epidermis. So the secretions take place are due to dermal glands, and here the two important cells known as termogen cells and the trichogen cells. Termogen cells are actually the sockets which facilitate trichogen cells, and trichogen cells are actually hairs of the insect. These hairs are of two types. One are called as setas, and other are called as spines. If the hairs are lacking with the termogen cells, means sockets, along with the trichogen, the hairs will known as spines, and if trichogens are accompanied with the termogen, these hairs will be called as seta. And seta may also known as movable hairs of an insect. So the structure of the integument, first of all, basement membrane, the innermost layer of insect integument, that is non-cellular layer, and this is almost zero point 0.5 micrometers in thickness and secreted by hemocytes. It has a negative charge and may also act as a seal. And then the second layer is epidermis. This is the only living portion of integument which produce dermal glands, and trichogen and termogens are present in epidermis. Then the outermost covering is cuticle secreted by epidermis and divided into two main regions, consist of chitin and proteins. Furthermore, it is also divided into epicutical, exocutical, and endocutical, and flexible and elastic in early stages. But later on, it became hardened and sclerotized. Cuticle is then further divided into different layers. Outermost non-living layer that is of 1 to 4 micrometer of in size. That is cement layer. That is fragile but essential for the water retention. So the cement layer is actually made to retention of the water. It is bipolar molecules with hydrophilic and hydrophobic ends. Then hydrophobic ends faces outward and rejects the water. So it actually acts as repellent layer toward the water. Then base layer. The base layer are actually mixtures of hydrocarbons and fatty acids produced by epidermal cells. Then cuticle layer, that is actually lipoprotein layers, act as impermeable barrier at the outer end of the cuticle. Then polyphenols contain polyphenols which involve in tanning the cuticle, and this is inner side which used for the tanning of the cuticle. And exocuticle is actually the proteins become heavily cross-linked and insoluble and pigmented, hard and thicker as compared to epicuticle, and do not broken down during molting process and shed as exuvi. So we can say that the exuvi we found during the molting or shedding process of the insect integument, that is actually the exocritical part. Then endocritical consists of horizontal stratified layers, which are also known as lamellae, and it's softened as compared to exocritical and flexible, and completely break down during the molting process. So the exo and endocritical collectively called as procritical, and it's up to 200 micrometers. So the chemistry of cuticle. The insect cuticle is composed largely of proteins, comprise more than half of the dry weight of the insect cuticle, and then primarily located within the procuticle. It's synthesized mainly by epidermal cells. Then second one is chitin. Chitin is consist of 20 to 40% of totally dry weight of the cuticle. The other major components of cuticle polymer of N-acetyl D-glucosamines, and then synthesized by epidermal cell as of proteins. Then lipids. Lipids are mainly located in the base layer of epicuticle, and it's synthesized largely by the oinocytes and the fat bodies present in insect. So while we're talking about the chemistry of integument and structures of a typical insect integument, we must know some terminologies related to the integument. Apodeme. Apodeme is a cuticular ingrowth of the body wall, usually formed in a multicellular matrix, but sometimes it may be of a single cell. Then ecdysis. Ecdysis is actually shedding of the cuticle, and it's also known as molting. And actually, this is a process. Exuvie is a cuticular part that is discarded at the during the molting process, as we have early discussed that during the molting process, the exocuticle is actually termed as exuvie and shaded during the molting process. Then molting is a periodic process of loosening and discarding of the cuticle, accompanied by the formation of new cuticle and often by structural changes in the body wall and other organs. Scales. Scales are the flat unicellular external process of the body wall and may also modified as setae. And seta are the hairs of the insect. Sclerites. Sclerites are the large or small sclerotized plates present on the body of the insect. Spines. Spines are immovable multicellular external process that may be known as the hairs of the insect. Then suture. Suture is external groove or lining that is present outer side of the insect. Then sulcus is a lining which separate one or two between two sclerites. So this was all about the integument of insect. For detail, you can also consult entomology for beginners and the chapter 4 where we have a detailed discussion about the integument and derivatives of the integument.